103.8. We are taking stock of human movement, both physically, from house to house, but also from job to job.
I got a job.
New employment index out from the recruitment firm Fitch shows that hiring in the UAE was up in Q1 compared to the quarter before, but nowhere like how it was a year before. Trefor Murphy is the founder and CEO of Fitch. Trefor, thank you for coming in.
Morning, Brandy.
Let's put these numbers in a bit of perspective. New jobs being created, particularly in the UAE and Saudi, but not at the rate that we were seeing a year ago.
Yeah, we've seen certainly a bit of a slowdown, marginal in most areas, but a couple of weaker or very weak areas for us. Tech, the cybersecurity side, kind of way down on previous quarter numbers. Digital and data just slightly up. AI just slightly up. A lot of talk, a lot of focus on these areas. Surprisingly, that we're seeing them now coming into the Feb-March period. So,
let's look at what might be driving that. On the tech side, is this a knock-on effect from the layoffs that we've seen, particularly in the US?
Yeah, I think there's a bit of an overhang there with what's happening globally. I think within tech. It's still a little surprising that it's affecting the areas, particularly in the security side. Huge demand for security all of last year, and we're seeing a 13% drop in a quarter. It's a pretty significant drop.
Less buoyancy on the legal side as well, according to these numbers. What do you put that down to?
Look, private practice, bonus season maybe plays a little bit of a factor in it. Early Ramadan is maybe a little bit of a factor in the overall numbers. But yeah, private practice down by 4% on previous quarter. It's not alarming, but and we're already seeing a bit of a pickup into April already, yeah.
Okay, so here's my main question about these numbers. We've got 4% growth in the UAE, 2% growth, and this is in terms of new jobs being created in Saudi Arabia, the two bright spots in the Gulf. But last year we were looking at sort of an average of 8% growth. Town feels really, really busy. Why don't these numbers also look really, really busy?
Lots of people coming to Dubai, lots of people taking the chance of coming to Dubai to find something very difficult to do, very difficult to sustain, living in Dubai without a job. So I agree. Town is super busy at the moment. We're seeing a lot of people waiting and hoping, aspirationally coming here.
So are you seeing more people than usual coming here without a job?
Yes, for sure. Don't have huge numbers or accurate numbers maybe on it, but indicatively like up 5-10% on previous times. Dubai is such a sought after location. There's so many success stories coming back out of what Dubai is achieving, etc. So people are taking that chance to come here.
And when we say people, and again, I realise broad brushstrokes, but are we talking at the management CEO level? Are we talking at the young new grad level? Where do they fit?
So young new grad level for sure. But it's easy to take a chance because it's easy to bounce back somewhere else. We are seeing a little bit more on the mid to senior end where people are coming here, sometimes with families, to set up and move to Dubai without having something secured.
Where are they coming from?
Everywhere. But like I'd say, look, it's the usual hotspots. Ireland, UK, Australia, Asia, obviously Russia as well. There's a massive population of people coming in from Russia and Ukraine to a maybe slightly lesser extent now, but they're coming from everywhere. Dubai's just become a beacon of kind of aspirational hope for people to come here, reset their lives and to create something new for themselves.
Okay, so if people are coming here without having secured work, and as you've said, it's not a cheap place to live while you are looking for a job, what does that mean for what people are willing to accept in terms of wages?
It's a great question. Probably a softening of salaries. And again, very indicative because we only look at salaries in any detail level once a year. And last year we were talking about a 3 or 4% increase this year. With the volume of people, it's probably going to soften that a little bit. And then everything is by function or by area, demand and supply, all the usual stuff that we talk about. So I think we're seeing a little bit of softening in a lot of areas. But then we've got real estate, we've got strategy, consulting, all doing unbelievably well, and salaries driving, new high standards.
But Scooby sense, though, wise, and I realise it's going to differ across sectors and all the rest of it. The people that you're dealing with who are looking for jobs, is there less of a hard negotiation? Is there more of a taking of the offer on the table? What's happening when you're placing people?
We're seeing employers are taking a kind of a more structured, a more rigid approach to salaries. We saw good increase in salaries. We saw okay increase in salaries over the last 2 years, maybe. I think organisations have become more structured. So there's bands. This is the band that you fit into. Sign-on bonuses are probably down. We're seeing a little bit of a softening that could certainly pick up over the year. So over the first 3 months of data, we're seeing a little bit of a softening and maybe a little bit of acceptance that the offer that's there is the offer.
What's happening in terms of migration between the states? There was one line in your survey that jumped out at me, and it was to do with construction, saying that we might be seeing people who've been in Saudi for a couple of years willing to take a salary cut to move back to the UAE.
We're seeing that for sure. So over the last 2 years, with obviously everything that's happening with the big real estate projects, it's well documented, and we lost a lot of talent. There was a real drain of talent out of the UAE into Saudi, and maybe into Qatar, maybe to a slightly lesser extent, but certainly seeing a lot of interest in coming back to the UAE.
And what's happening with wages there if people are mobile and moving and are looking to relocate?
Yeah. Willing to take a drop. Sometimes quite significantly.
Percentage-wise?
10 up to 20% sometimes. A lot left families here and travel up and down, or maybe spend 2 weeks in Saudi and then get back for a week. And then, but certainly seeing a lot more a desire to get back to the UAE, particularly in the real estate side, as there's improvements here. You can't come back if there's no improvements, but certainly a lot of projects, a lot of new developers, a lot of opportunities here again.
Well, thanks so much for joining us this morning. Trevor Murphy, the founder and CEO of Fitch, coming in with their new employment index, which will be out a little bit later, their Q1 numbers showing 4% growth in the UAE in terms of job creation, a 2% growth in Saudi, but a drop elsewhere. Thank you so much for joining us on the show this morning.
Thank you, Brandy.
And do join